Residents of Kinshasa are still uncertain whether Friday's signing of the Inga 3 hydroelectric project's agreement for the production of 11,000 megawatts will meet increasing power demands in the Central African country. Despite the $14 billion deal, some residents are still pushing for major reforms in electricity distribution within the country.
I want
the government to look into how electricity is distributed, because in Congo, electricity distribution is a waste. We have refrigerators at home, we have other electronic appliances that we cannot even use, but at the end of the month we receive electricity bills. You pay your bill, but you only receive electricity on Monday and then 2 weeks or a month later. Out of the 80 million population, only 15% have access to electricity. With a capacity of 11,000 megawatts, the Inga 3 is expected to significantly reduce electricity problems in the country.
Inga 3's electricity production will reduce the electricity deficit of millions of people in Katanga province, in the Congo region and the rest of the regions, as well as in Kinshasa. It will also provide continuous energy to businesses and residents in these regions. But above all, it will allow for the industrialization of this region and the country. Some of the electricity produced will also be exported and sold to other African countries.
The Inga 3 project is part of a program to expand hydroelectric dams along the Congo River. Disagreements between the Republic of Congo and its partners had stalled the project.
Again, South Africa and the Democratic Republic of Congo plan to press ahead with the Grand Inga Dam project amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The Democratic Republic of Congo has just concluded a week-long conference restating the commitment from South Africa to purchase 5,000 megawatts of electricity from the proposed project. The South African Ministry of Mineral Resources and Energy, on the other hand, is pressing ahead with its plans to procure power from that project. Let's chat more on that. I'm joined by International Rivers Africa Program Director, Ms. Sizwe Mota. Very good afternoon to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us. Perhaps for context's sake, what is the Grand Inga 3 project?
Good afternoon, Dudu. So South Africa signed a treaty in 2014 with the DRC to procure energy from the Grand Inga hydropower scheme. That energy will be transmitted about 1,600 kilometers from the DRC to South Africa. Initially, on the treaty, they have signed for 2,500 megawatts, but there are discussions that they might increase that to about 5,000 megawatts.
And you are opposing this move by the South African government on their part to get involved. Why?
For a number of reasons. First and foremost is the cost factors and the cost effectiveness of bringing power, transmitting power from a country, passing through several other countries to bring it to South Africa. The fact that it's going to cost South Africa about $4 billion US, not taking into account additional costs, not taking into account cost overruns, and only, having the power available to us in about 10 years' time from now. So that's one of the reasons. It's the cost factor. But secondly, it's the fact that we, as a country, could get renewable sources of energy at a much faster and a cheaper rate. So a study was conducted by researchers from the University of California in Berkeley, who found that importing power from Inga 3 would cost the country 13 billion rand more than getting energy from within South Africa, excluding coal. So those are the two key factors. The fact also that we are in a recession. We have a power utility company, Eskom, who's overly in debt. We just recognize that it is economically not feasible for South Africa also in light of the fact that we are in the midst of a COVID pandemic, and our economy still needs to recover from that pandemic, and money needs to be put into that kind of recovery.
This project is touted as a game changer for the continent. Is it merely a timing issue because of a lack of resources, the money issue that you talk about, that we can't really afford this, or are you fundamentally opposed to it in its entirety?
So we are fundamentally opposed to it in the way that it is being framed, but also the fact that it is a large, destructive hydropower project, and it's destructive in the sense that it impacts the environment, it contributes to climate change, it also displaces hundreds and thousands of Congolese citizens within the DRC. But it's also not economic, doesn't make economic sense in the sense that the labor is going to be taking place in another country, so there is no benefit to our labor force. And I think the trade unions might have something to say about that. South Africa is touting it as this project that brings regional integration, energy security, economic growth for the SADC region, while at the same time not considering the fact that the majority of Congolese citizens do not have access to energy. And this power is seen as energy for the continent rather than energy even for the citizens who are currently energy insecure and energy poor.
Have you taken your concerns to the doorstep of the relevant authorities? What has been the level of engagement?
So at the end of last year, just as an example, we have engaged the standing committee on finance, and just one of the committee members suggested that funding, for example, shouldn't be allocated to the project until Eskom has shown itself to be financially stable. So we also made a presentation to, the Minerals and Energy Portfolio Committees last year, and to the Appropriations Committee as well. But in addition to that, we do engage the African Development Bank at a regional level to try and, get them to understand the concerns not only of the Congolese citizens, but also, of South Africans, in the sense that they shouldn't be involved in a project that is not going to benefit citizens in the DRC, but also is going to have huge cost implications for South African citizens.
Do you see it ever seeing the light of day, just following in terms of where it has come from? We understand that in 1972, phase 1 of the project started, in 82, phase 2 started, and this is seen as a six-phase project. But it's been so many years. Do you ever see it seeing the light of day?
So phase 1 and 2 is Inga 1 and Inga 2. Those are actually operational, although they don't function at their full capacity. Inga 3 up to Inga 8 are what are called the Grand Inga scheme. And I think the DRC government is trying its utmost to bring in countries and interested parties from across the region to buy into the scheme. For South Africa, we are having power outages now. We have a problem with Eskom now. We need energy right now. And for us, it does not make sense to be waiting 10 years instead of taking that investment and putting it towards energy that is locally produced, that is renewable, that is sustainable within the country.
Thank you very much for helping us make sense of all of that. And Sisizwe Mota.